So, welcome, Chris. This is the first show that I'm doing of my podcast, Hope, Hearing Other People's Experiences. So I'm really, really honored to have my very good friend, Chris, here. And she's just an amazing person. She's an internationally renowned burlesque star. She is a classically trained pianist, and she is the only person in the world who's combined the two, burlesque in her act and playing piano at the same time, and I've seen it. It's incredible. She also is a fitness trainer. She's an entrepreneur. She has a music academy, and I think there's one more thing. Oh yes, she's a stunt trainee. And have I missed anything out?
Not at all.
Okay, good. So Chris and I knew each other when we were both rec heads. We met. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we met?
Well, I think that's a really accurate description, Georgie. First of all, I'm really honoured that you invited me on your first interview podcast, and very, very happy to be here. And like I said, you two are one of my very dearest friends, and look at us now. But yeah, Wreckhead is actually being kind, I think. So we met somewhere on a West End stage in Leicester Square, but not the kind of West End glitzy, glamorous, refined sort of entertainment establishment that you'd imagine the West End. I think it was a club in Leicester Square where they used to have rock concerts. Nothing wrong with that. We all love rock music, still do. But we were doing an event that was part of a collective troupe.
Yeah.
I'm being quite kind, but it had the name Satanic Sluts. So I think that pretty much sums up the kind of shows we used to do. And we met backstage, and we did instantly get on, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And spent the next few years hanging out, painting the town all sorts of depraved colours, but often painting each other not very nice colours too. I don't think we were always the best behaved towards others and ourselves. Mostly, not just each other, I mean ourselves too.
Yeah, exactly. So we used to party a lot, and, you know, we were in our 20s and we were doing a lot of the party drugs. We were staying up multiple nights in a row.
And I think we lived for those kind of experiences, didn't we? We lived for the weekends where we would just go out on 2-3 day benders, and I think that was our way of getting our adrenaline hits or rushes or whatever you wanted to call it at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just crazy because, you know, the people we were back then are so... I'm so detached from it now, you know, but I remember clear as day the thing on the bus.
Oh my God.
Do you want to tell them about the thing on the bus?
Well, first of all, the whole concept of the bendy buses was just wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think whether you were high or sober, it just was not a nice place to be, particularly when that bendy bus was a night bus. I think we were on a very crowded 29 bendy bus going home or trying to get home or wherever we were going.
I think we were going out from a previous bender the night before.
Yeah, and I think, yes, that was the issue, wasn't it? I don't think I'd slept for about 36 hours.
No, neither of us had.
And yeah, I mean, I even now, like 11 years into sobriety and good sleep and health, if I don't sleep if I don't sleep for 7 hours at least, I'm a nightmare. Do not talk to me. So back then, you can imagine what could have happened. But yeah, short of anybody getting murdered on the bus, which didn't happen, it still was an experience. It was very crowded, and I think there were all kinds of characters on that bus, and there was this group of guys. They clearly didn't speak English very well, and I think they were obviously peering their eyes towards us. And I got very jumpy. You were being quite sweet, actually. And I think we had a friend with us, didn't we? A guy.
Yes, we did.
Who was a musician in the band, well-known band.
He knows who he is.
Yeah, exactly. And he was very sweet. I think he was trying to just make sure that there was no bloodshed.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was going to be this. She looks like a doll, but she was angry.
I was really, really annoyed that they were essentially invading our privacy by looking at us. And I kept swearing at them and just like, what the fuck are you looking at? I think I might have threatened to pull out a weapon. I'm not sure if they didn't stop looking. And then you turned around in your sweet, kind of eloquent, sweet girly way by going, what did you say? What was the phrase?
You should be paying to look at us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what? I
think that pretty much sums up the years we spent together, right?
Honestly, like Chris looks like a porcelain doll, right? But she was a furious doll. It was like quite scary.
Psycho doll. I probably made Bride of Chucky look like an actual children's doll.
Well, I looked a bit like, Gene Simmons with all of my makeup coming down my face, or the girl from The Ring. And so, yeah, it was a pretty...
Yeah, I mean, we put on a show without meaning to, right?
It was
even though we wanted to be showgirls.
Honestly, but when...
We did it for all the wrong reasons.
Exactly. And when... I would like to talk about sort of what happened between then and now. So, like, obviously, your career took off. So you went and did burlesque everywhere, didn't you?
Well, yeah, in 2007, I did decide to make a bit of a clean break, at least about what I wanted from life, what I wanted to do as an artist. I really enjoyed playing piano, performing on stage. I did get to tour with quite a well-known goth rock band that were in the charts in the 80s. I just got hired as their session keyboard player and went on tour with them for a few months all over Europe, which was awesome. And it reminded me of the reasons why I love playing, I love performing, I love creating art on stage, if you want to call it that, entertaining people, seeing people enjoy themselves from something that you've created or you're performing. And that became a bit of a high for me too. I guess for all artists, that's the same. That's why we do it, right? Because we love what we've spent years honing down a skill at. So I decided to make a serious go of the burlesque in 2007, and I got tricked into doing an interview for a major newspaper when a lady came up to me saying that she was looking to hire a performer for a private party. In fact, she was quite a big journalist. And then when news got around that it was during the British burlesque revival anyway, which happened round about the early noughties. Sorry, I hate saying that word noughties, but I don't know of a better description than to describe that era. So after that press article of being the only performer in the world that combined classical music with the art of burlesque, I then just got on the fashion circuit. I got to do events, celebrity parties, tours, corporate events, and I did a show in Ireland, which got me on the TV there, similar to the channel that you were on. I thought at the time we were going to cross paths, and because at the time we hadn't seen each other for 2 years, and I was like, oh God, am I going to meet her at some random TV interview? Is this a setup? But it wasn't. And I think I went on the sister show that you went on. And then, I toured the world, America, Australia, Europe, Asia. It was amazing, and I got to do all the things I loved. But still, as much as I should have really loved the experiences of traveling, which is again one of my great loves. I didn't, because for years and years and years, rather than getting up in the day and seeing whatever beautiful part of the world I was in, I was nursing a hangover or worse. And I would just get up, do the show, repeat, pass out at any point where I could no longer finish a bottle of wine or whatever, and then do the same thing again. So it's just a shame that for a large chunk of my career, I didn't really enjoy the whole life experience of it to the full.
Yeah, so was there a particular moment in time where you just decided, like, I've had enough? And did you try several times to stop and were unable before that time?
Well, there was one point where I was on tour, and for about 5 days, I just wanted to, I was in the south of France. It was just after the Cannes Film Festival, and we then went on to Saint-Tropez, and I just thought, let me just try and not drink for like a couple of days and see how I get on. I actually did manage about 3-4 days, but if I'm going to be honest, I think that was more to do with abstinence for vanity purposes, because I was out in the sun in 28-30 degrees. I was feeling a bit bloated, a bit puffed up, as you do when you drink and fuck your body up like that. So, and I did it and it was fine, but I went back quite quickly. I mean, that I remember that particular year that got me into a lot of trouble. I was banned from a major club there for almost assaulting a photographer backstage, who, fair enough, did deserve it, because we were on stage performing. We were backing performers for Busta Rhymes, and I think he was so desperate to try and get on the stage to get a picture that he almost pushed me off the stage, and backstage I went absolutely mental. I was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you realise if you'd pushed me off the stage, I might have had an accident and been out for 2 months. But he happened to be a friend of the nightclub owner, and then I got banned. Don't get me wrong, I still got paid, but I just then spent the next 5 remaining days going to beach parties, downing champagne, eating seafood, and downing more champagne. So, yeah.
So what was the moment where you actually managed to stop? Because I think a lot of people are sort of bewildered, like when is enough? Because I thought enough was enough so many times, and I would have passed a lie detector, but the penny had to drop for myself. So I'm just wondering, is there a particular moment that you remember where it was really enough?
Yeah, I really do. It was shortly before I stopped for good. So I stopped on the 22nd of April 2013. That was the last day. No, the last day was on the 21st of April. So the 22nd was from then on, I haven't touched a drop of alcohol or anything else. It was round about that period where there was a lot going on in my personal life. And I mean a lot. It was almost, that was the reason why the drinking got worse, because I just couldn't handle it. And I was spending every moment of my waking life self-medicating and still trying to get on with all the tasks I had to do and performing on stage, because obviously when you get to that level you're very functional, aren't you? And it got to the point where I realized I was actually hiding bottles, empty bottles, because I didn't want anybody seeing the amount of empty bottles that I was disposing of. And then it got to also the second explosive red flag was I was lying to absolutely everyone about how much I was drinking. People can see, can't they, when you're out or when you're backstage, and they can see how much you're consistently downing and drinking. But it was more when you got home and then you were winding down to go to sleep. That's when things were really bad, and those are the minor details that nobody ever got told. And I think I had that moment of, right, this is getting really serious. If I don't stop now, I'm going to end up in hospital at best.
Okay. So
someone's going to find me, and yeah.
Yeah. So you were scared of losing your life?
Basically, yeah.
And also, I think that I hear a lot of shame, because I had that shame of I can't let anybody know how much I'm drinking.
Of course.
And so I would shove bottles in the weirdest of places. I would put them inside the toilet, like in the cistern thing, and I thought I was being so crafty, but really everybody knew.
Well, I was wrapping mine up in bubble wrap and then disposing them in the recycling bin, because I didn't want potentially somebody to empty, when the
Clink.
bin mans came and to even hear them.
Yeah.
And that's how overthinking I got. I didn't really want whoever was coming round to take the rubbish to realise that was potentially the house of a complete alcoholic fuckhead.
Exactly. No, I'm smiling in recognition, because I did similar things to that, and I think all of us are so paranoid. When we're really sick in the addiction, I think they call it the 4 horsemen, what is it? Terror, anxiety, paranoia, and something else. I can't remember. But that paranoia of everybody knows.
Yeah. And everybody's pointing the finger.
Yes.
And you've let everyone down, particularly the ones that do care about you, and you're not worthy of their love. And you start to go down that road, don't you, of really sabotaging yourself.
Yes, exactly. So, it's... So how did you do it?
Okay, so at the time, I was staying with a friend of mine, very, very close friend, who's a bit of a mentor, it's like family. And obviously, he was without any form of patronising. He would often speak to me about, if you don't do something now, I'm just really worried that you are going to lose everything that is good in your life. So what I did, I decided one day, and that was the 22nd of April, to just stop, just not drink. Yeah. And I didn't actually put any pressure on myself by going, right, you're not going to drink for 3 days or you're not going to drink for a week. You're just not going to drink and you're just going to see how this goes. And then one day turned into 5 days. 5 days turned into 3 weeks. 3 weeks turned into 4 months. That was the first time I visited a doctor about it. And then before I knew it, the days, months of not drinking had accumulated. And then I realised, wow, okay, this is really happening. And I think the more time went on, the more I realised how poisonous, and for me anyway, how poisonous and evil this thing that I used to have an absolute relationship with was for me. And the more time went on, the less I remembered of all the fun times and, oh my God, look at that time you got thrown out of 3 pubs one night. Wasn't that hilarious or whatever? And the more you realised of the awful times when you had blackouts for weeks on end and, you know, you destroyed certain friendships because of something you said or a psychotic way you reacted. The more those things came to the surface and I realised, wow, if I've come this far, then there is no point ever going back. So I absolutely have to make a thing of not even having one anymore because clearly I can't do that.
So you had total clarity in that moment.
Yeah.
So like you didn't put pressure on yourself because I think that is quite similar to the way that I did it. If I thought on day one that I could never drink for the rest of my life, it would be too much. And so it has to be one day at a time. Yeah. And it does accumulate. And that's just, I'm really, really grateful that both of us can meet all these years later well, you know. I think so many people are secretly struggling with this and they're not alone. That's what I want people to know through this podcast. And I want them to know that, you know, there's light on the other side. And one thing I would like to pick up on actually is the blackouts, because I had a few blackouts and they terrified me. Yeah. I woke up with people I didn't know. I woke up in places I'd never been to. And so...
Or you'd wake up and somebody you know would tell you of the things that you've done. People that you trust, friends that you trust would be like, right, well, you do realise that you then took your dress off in this place and then you were screaming, you know, X, Y, and Z at this person. And then you're just like... How did I not know any of this stuff? Yeah, it's really scary.
How
did I pass out at a bus stop?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
and not get killed.
Yeah, or not get put into the back of a van. You know, I know lots of girls that I met in rehab who were scooped up literally off the street and chucked into the back of a van and held for a few days because they were drunk on the street. You know, and so. This is all really helpful, I think, for people because you didn't put pressure on yourself. So that's the point. Rather than saying, this is a whole new way of life, I'm going to do it like this. Yeah. You just took it slowly.
And again, one thing that you just pointed out about lots of people struggling with this, I think that what I hope people learn to handle is the amount of hate they put into themselves and it's the worst thing you can do when you beat yourself up and you think you've let everyone down and you think you're a bad person when all you are is essentially ill. And unfortunately, not everybody is blessed enough to have the friends or the loved ones that we had that really tried and didn't abandon us, because dealing with somebody who has an addiction is difficult. Yeah. And maybe not everybody has that. But somehow I really hope that there are people out there are organisations out there, that people, I mean, you're one of them, I'm one of them, that are passionate enough to help others realise they can actually get well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I like to show examples, you know, of people who have managed to do that, because I think in my early days, I was completely bewildered how anybody could go like a day without a drink.
Well, I didn't have a clue. You know, I just remember when I was 19 and I woke up in a cell because and the police went horrible and they just said, we didn't think that you were safe being out on the street, so you had to spend the night here. But even then, it just didn't occur to me, like, that wasn't even a wake-up call, you know, because there was a good 14 years after that I carried on doing what I did.
That would have been, for me, in my 20s, that would have been a hilarious anecdote.
Well, it was hilarious at the time. I did find it hilarious. That was a scary thing.
Yeah, so more of those things mount up, don't they? And so, yeah, what you were saying about how, you started to recall things when you got sober, like they can slap you around the face like a wet fish, can't they?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad that some of my things remain in blackout because I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
So how did you make peace with your past? How did you forgive yourself?
So I think one thing that obviously you learn when you have therapy, and particularly when you do start having therapy and visiting reasons why you were so self-destructive, you become very interested in what goes on in your brain, even on a neuroscientific level. And one thing you do learn is that addictions, they start and end in pain. You're not an addict because that's how you're meant to be, or you caught that illness because you were trying to hide something, or you're trying to numb stuff, childhood trauma, whatever it is you're carrying. And I quickly noticed, because apart from that, I was generally a fit person most of my life. I was a sports kid, and I always, funnily enough, looked after myself in other ways. I always made sure I drank a lot of water and ate well, because that was just so what I was used to doing. And within 3 weeks of giving up alcohol, I felt fine. I had lots of energy. I was bouncing, because that's the thing. It takes 3 weeks for toxins to leave your system, typically, give or take. But then after that, I just had so many panic attacks, breakdowns, flashbacks. And I think that was psychotic episodes. And that was the reason why I visited the doctor 4 months later, because I was having, obviously, insomnia, staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning, having to speak to friends in Australia or America who were on the time zone that I was awake, because nobody was available here. And she was very supportive. She said, well done for coming this far on your own, but this comes with a lot of risks, the fact that you just stopped, and the fact that until now you haven't sought help or gone to a centre. Ironically, I did try round about when I was 20 to go to AA. It just didn't work for me. Plus, at 20 I was still very young and incredibly stupid, so that was probably never going to work anyway, or never going to stay. Wouldn't have had any staying power. And I started again. I had a couple of very good friends who had been through the whole therapy process, who had very unconventional lives. I mean, one lost his parents young, the other one was in the army, and obviously experienced trauma from a young age, and they suggested that was the road I take. So I tried, didn't really find anybody that I particularly connected with. And I think this process took a long time. It took about a good year. And in the meantime, I was still going on tour. So it was something I had to revisit every time I got back to London. But it was when I went to this group therapy specifically for women, that had whether they were had addictions or whether they were BPD. It was the kind of therapy that Amy Winehouse was supposed to have. And I found that massively helpful, because whereas some people would not have wanted to share, I found the fact that I was in a group with 15 other women, all completely different from one another, from different parts of the world, all sharing. It made me realise, actually, I'm not that much of a nut job, for want of a better word. I'm not that singled out. These are all incredibly cool women. They're all in here for different reasons, and we've all got issues we're trying to work with. And when I started to understand why we react to certain things in ways, and why we develop addictive, obsessive patterns, that really helped me make peace with why I did all of those destructive things for years. Because I'm also OCD. There's a problem. I've always been a little bit OCD. So I have a tendency to fixate on things, which is fine when you're, as you know, being an artist, you decide to fixate on a piece of work you're doing, or a performance, or you're training for something. But when you then fixate on something that's destructive, that's when you've got to completely pull out. So it was having understand how the brain works and why we engage in certain patterns really helped.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because the neural pathways, if I know that if I put alcohol in my body, they're going to light up like a Christmas tree and I'm going to want to continue.
Yep.
And I remember I had a relapse because I was so greedy. I shoved a chocolate right down my throat, barely chewed the thing.
It's not greedy. I do that a
but
lot.
It was full of booze, right? And so immediately it went like that. And I went to the chocolate shop again and again and again, and I had the same chocolate, and then I had more of the chocolate, and then before I knew it, here I am again, humiliated, pissing myself, all the usual crap, right? So enough of the horrible stuff. Let's talk about nice stuff. One thing I wanted to pick up on was, you were going to go on tour and everything, and you were obviously around alcohol. Mm-hmm. In your earliest time. Now, usually that would break someone in early recovery. Like, I know that every time I tried to do stuff like that in early recovery, I failed, Yeah. So how the heck did you do it?
Okay, well, the reason why some of it wasn't as hard because I just really wanted to focus. I realized that it's weird saying this for when you have been on tour and you've been to all these places and met thousands of amazing people. But when I got sober, I realized how many years of my life I'd wasted by not paying attention to things that really would have enhanced and enriched my life, like beautiful experiences, talking to people, random conversations that I could actually be myself and have a laugh with. So what I try to do is I try to focus on those. So when I was on tour backstage, I tried to really get on with people, gel with people, have a laugh, really actually enjoy my performances, actually remember some of them, maybe connect with my audience a bit more rather than giving them some kind of vacant, fucked up look that vaguely looked like I was giving, them a wink or the eye while I was playing piano. Actually, really, I try to feel everything in high definition. Yeah, and I that became my new obsession about really trying to live life, as corny as it sounds.
No, I love it.
And the things that were really difficult, the situations that were difficult were more the social occasions, weddings, hen parties, someone's 30th birthday. That was difficult because they'll be drinking in a fun, jovial way, not necessarily to get wasted, but it was that getting merry with a couple of glasses of champagne that I couldn't have that camaraderie with other people. That was very difficult.
At that point,
yeah. Particularly also, not every alcoholic is like that, but I really enjoyed wine, champagne, certain spirits for the actual taste, just like I love food. So that again I was dealing with that too. I was like, I can smell that wine. That's just such a lovely Malbec, and I can't have that. That was very difficult as well. Or champagne, which I also adored. So what I did to combat that, I started drinking things that slightly reminded me of the texture. I got really obsessed with sparkling water.
Yes,
sparkling water and lime.
Yeah,
because that would remind me of the bubbliness of the champagne and then the lime of the G&Ts or vodka and lime or whatever. Or if I really wanted red wine and have that rich sugar hit, oddly enough, I would have dark chocolate. I became a bit of a dark chocolate connoisseur, which is actually very good for you.
Yeah,
in moderation.
I tell myself that when I eat a whole box of Black Magic.
Oh, I on a regular basis, about once a week, have 100-gram bar of Montezuma's 100%.
Okay, well,
or sometimes maybe 70% chili chocolate by Lindt.
If you want a treat.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know what to get you then.
I know what to get you too.
Oh yeah, any chocolate is good. So on to, and one more thing. What advice would you give to somebody who was in your position? Like what are a few top tips?
Okay, first of all, do not engage in any self-critiquing or self-harming talk. Never ever use spiel on yourself. I can't do this. I'm a loser. I'm no good. Even if you've decided you want to stop drinking and then you keep fucking up and going back, you're not failure. Yeah. Never ever engage in anything where you're beating yourself up, because that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. And that just exacerbates the situation. In fact, a lot of addictions do come from a place of a lack of self-worth and self-hate. So do not do that. Try and find ways. If you don't know how to do that, try and find ways of being kind to yourself. What do I like that's good for me? Even if it means I have to spend an entire day in bed sleeping because I've done damage to myself the day before. Give yourself that time. Do things that are calming. Have a hot bath. I don't know. Go and get a massage. That's amazing. Do anything that is actually pampering to yourself in a healthy way. Try and identify who your true friends are. That was an absolute saviour for me.
Game changer.
Yeah, that was having genuine people that believed in me, even if it meant tough love. I respond very well to tough love anyway. I respond very well to people shaking me like they're a regimental sergeant major going, Chris, come on, get with it, get up.
That's where we're different.
Yeah, I mean, I respond well to that. It's not something that everybody would, and it's not something that I would recommend for everyone, but find out who your real friends are. Yeah. Listen to them, listen to their advice, even if you don't take it straight away, and also accept that you are worthy of their love and their care and their kindness. And again, what we talked about before, don't put any time limits on yourself. Don't be like, well, I need to stop drinking for 3 days because if I can't, then I might as well give up. Or don't think, right, I'm not going to drink for 6 months. Take it a day at a time. Again, it does sound a little bit stereotypical, but you really have to give yourself all the time you need. Yeah. Recovery is such a long process. And even when it seems quite quick, like I told you, 3 weeks, I felt physically great, but the recovery process took years.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
There's no bouncing back. No. So give yourself that time.
Yeah. And I think it's also like, don't judge yourself for having drinking thoughts. Like when I was like under a year, I would have drinking dreams nearly every single night. And I would judge myself just for having those dreams. And I'm like, does that mean I'm going to drink again? And actually last year, I was having a lot of really scary dreams, insidious addiction dreams where, oh, but Georgie, you've been drinking this whole time and no one knows. And then I'll go into I'll be in the Champs-Elysees and I'll go into a cafe and have a Côte de Rhône and then go about my life. And there were no consequences. And so, the brain is going to do what it's going to do.
Of course, and it's going to trick you.
Yes, so forgive the thought and just choose the next best thought, which is, I'm actually fine.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to the being kind to yourself, doesn't it? Don't beat yourself up. Don't judge yourself. Don't think that you can't do it. Always believe. My father used to say to me as a kid when I used to get upset about certain things, and I used to be a bit of a drama queen and act like it was the end of the world. I know, so shocking, isn't it? That there is a solution to everything, unfortunately, except death. So if you're not there yet, then you've got that solution to prevent that from happening too early.
So there's a solution to everything except for death.
So if you're not, yes, I guess
I love it.
As morbid as it sounds and as it appeals to somebody who, like me, has a gothic spirit at heart. But it's true, isn't it? You might feel like you're at death's door, but you're not dead.
Yep.
You're alive, even if you might even be half the person you are because of this horrible poison that's possessed you, because it is basically demon possession, isn't it?
It feels like it.
Yeah. But you're not dead, and you will always get better if you do the work to do
the next bit.
Yeah.
Just do the next bit.
Do the next bit. Exactly. Just do the next step, whatever that might be. I will say maybe take up some... When you're better, take up some quite fun, extreme activity.
So yes, I want to tell a little bit about this. So Chris is a bit of a daredevil. She's a stunt trainee. She's training to be a stunt woman, and she has all of these impressive skills, including
Adrenaline junkies.
She's an adrenaline junkie. That's the kind of junkie.
Accurate statement.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Chris is an adrenaline junkie, and she jumps out of planes and stuff, and she does the paragliding, which I'm very curious.
You want to come with me?
Hang on a minute.
I got into it over lockdown.
Yes. So yeah, I can see how that would be a thing. Because when I was a little girl, I always saw them and I'm like, oh, she's flying. And I saw that you were doing it. And that's one of the many things that you need in order to be a stunt person. So tell me about all of these different daredevil things that you do.
Well, one thing that I did want to feel after I got better is that it was a different kind of high that also required you to be super focused on what you were doing at the time, because if you didn't, then obviously you're in a lot of danger, right? If you're not focused when you're on a jet ski, you could the best is you could fall off and land in the water and look like a bit of a twat. The worst is that you could crash into something. With the paragliding, if you don't actually take off in a certain way and you're with your brakes and you're paying attention to all the conditions and the wind conditions, then you can plunge to your death. So it forces you to be in a very deep, almost meditative state, whilst focusing on very physical, practical things that you've learnt.
Yeah.
And that to me was so calming. It's like with martial arts as well. I mean, I did that as a kid. I did martial arts and swimming as a kid competitively.
She's a black belt.
And I think when you're there sparring, one of your main concerns probably not the right word, points of focus is to not get punched in the face.
Yeah.
So when you're in that state, suddenly all the shit that you worry about in life and all the crap in your head and whatever's in there just goes out the window and you just feel so calm. So ironically, I found that when I was engaging in potentially dangerous activities, it would empty my brain out and I would just feel so calm, and afterwards just so at peace.
And there's no hangover.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, there's the polar opposite of that. There's just so much beautiful mental clarity and calm and serenity, which is, again, something that I think I've spent quite a bit of my life chasing since.
Yes, serenity. Like, I didn't even understand what it was until I had it,
Yeah. I just thought it was the name of a cool ship in that series that I really liked, Firefly. I think it was.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, Joss Whedon's other series that didn't get continued. I don't know. There's me being.
I saw Serenity on people's lower back in the 90s.
No, Serenity was the name of the ship that they were on. So
okay, well, Serenity is really great when you finally get it. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah,
but it's also it's an ongoing. It's a maintenance as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you can't get complacent, can you? Because if you get complacent, I've done that and I've relapsed. I thought, I'm cured. You
have to carry on with the work.
Yeah, but it gets to be a pleasure, not work.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions. How would you say that your life has changed?
Okay. Well,
since we first met, bringing us back to the start, those girls in the bendy bus that hadn't slept for 3 nights, yelling things at people, and me saying in a demure, apparently way, "You should be paying to look at us," and the angry doll here.
Well, I think I've just learned what in life are, I guess, your vital organs, your metaphorical vital organs. So your good friends and family, if you have family members you get on with. I think having genuine, beautiful people that believe in you and will have your back are just, you've made it in life if you have them. And looking after your health, even when you have life crises, which everyone does at some point, and even if your businesses all went to shit and you lost your house, whatever, when you have your health and you have your good friends that are giving you the moral support saying you've got this, then you can do anything in life. So that's what I learned are the two most important. Look after your health, look after yourself, and really look after those that truly care about you, and give back to them too. And also have step back, even when you're having a bad day and somebody's reacting badly to you or beeping at you, or you've bumped into them and they're swearing at you. I've learned that they're not actually attacking you. They're dealing with their own traumas, and their own battles. And you never know. Maybe that person's found out that their relative has cancer that day. You don't know. So try not to be too judgmental.
Yeah, exactly. I found that when I dropped, it's not always easy, but if I manage to think, oh, poor guy, he's sick, I feel sorry for him rather than I'm going to attack you back.
Exactly. Or even I don't like to feel sorry for people because that implies, I guess
compassion.
Or just hoping that they manage to get over whatever they're fighting.
Yeah.
And whatever's troubling them.
Yeah.
That's what I hope.
Find compassion.
Yeah.
And rather than think like it's an eye for an eye here, I don't know this person that bumped into me. So it's just been so lovely having you here and talking.
It's been so wonderful to be here. Thank you. I'm just so grateful that you asked me to come on your first podcast.
Yeah.
What an accolade.
You popped my cherry. Oh God, cut that out. Right.
I've done that in more ways that
no, fine. I'm not ashamed.
Neither am I.
Yes, we've had
some fond memories.
Some fond and some not so fond, but do you know what? Like, what a life. What a tapestry of a friendship it's been. I have one more question and then I'll let you get on with your life. So, what brings you joy?
So the things that the beautiful treasures of life that I have mentioned before, my good friends, experiences bring me a lot of joy. Travel, getting to see beautiful parts of the world, meeting people that are from there that are also amazing, that everybody has something to contribute and to enrich your life with. Even if you have a random conversation with someone in a rural part of another country, you might never see them again, but you'll have the most interesting chat with them, and then you'll remember that forever. Mm-hmm. And definitely engaging more with nature's elements, like the air, being in the sea. I love everything to do with the sea, being in it, on it, doing all kinds of boating experiences.
I can't keep this girl on land. Seriously, she wants to be in the sky or in the water.
That brings me a lot of joy, being in the water or the sky.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I will join you in the sky when I have the courage.
In the sky and in the water with many good people. Like, in fact, why don't we just build an underwater world,
sure,
or an island up in the sky where we can just teleport to all of them.
Can it be on a cloud?
My happiness complete.
Okay, sorted. Yeah. So that somebody, could you do a blueprint for that and send it in?
Yeah,
and then we'll meet you up there. Right.
So we've gotten also a plan.
Yes.
After this podcast as well.
Absolutely.
That I didn't think we'd have. Like, obviously, we've created something.
Yes, this is the beginning of a wonderful new continent that we're going to build. So, if anybody wants to find you on social media, look at your amazing fitness posts and, your amazing act, here is your social media.
I don't know what I'm doing right here, but I'm sure that's going to help in some
guys
degree.
in the editing booth.
Random arm waving.
Yeah, there. Insert graphics here, please.
Please do.
And also I wanted to show you something. If I can grab it. Mm-hmm. This is you.
This is in your wonderful talent creation form.
Yeah, you're the most flexible person I know, and it's really impressive.
I know so many more people that are so much more flexible than me.
Well, honestly, anybody that can do that is just mind bending.
Yeah, but people don't know that it's actually me. You could have just drawn me doing the splits.
No, it's definitely you. Look at you. You're a Catwoman. You're a cheetah.
The photo exists.
The photo does exist. So, you should really go and find it. All right. Well, that's that. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Georgie.
You're the best.
You're the best. Oh no, you're the best.
No, stop it.
Stop it.